Punching through NVIDIA NemoClaw's Sandbox to hit local vLLM on RTX 5090. Disclaimer: this is an experimental build, not a production setup. NemoClaw is early stage, the network hacks are ugly, and everything is volatile. I'm documenting this because I couldn't find anyone else doing it, not because I recommend it. What is NemoClaw? NVIDIA NemoClaw, also known as OpenShell, is a sandboxed execution environment for AI agents. It runs a K3s cluster inside Docker, creates isolated sandbox namespaces, and lets AI agents execute code safely, file operations, shell commands, network requests, all inside a locked-down container. The intended workflow: your agent talks to NVIDIA's Cloud Inference API. The sandbox allows outbound HTTPS and blocks almost everything else. But what if you have an RTX 5090 sitting right there on the host, running vLLM with a perfectly good Nemetron 9B? Paying for cloud inference when your local GPU is idle feels wrong. So I made the sandbox talk to my local vLLM instead. It took 3 layers of hacking. The network topology. The sandbox lives inside a network namespace inside a pod inside a K3s cluster inside a Docker container. 4 levels of isolation between it and the host's vLLM port. Layer 1, host iptables. Docker's chain blocks cross-bridge traffic by default. The K3s container can't reach the host's vLLM port without explicit permission. This opens the door from the Docker bridge network to vLLM. Volatile, resets on WSL2 restart. Layer 2, network policy plus TCP relay. The sandbox can only reach endpoints explicitly listed in its network policy. By default, that's just. First, update the policy to allow local addresses. But the sandbox namespace, 10.200.0.2, can't reach the Docker bridge, 172.18.0.1, directly. They're in different network namespaces. So I run a TCP relay in the pod's main namespace, bridging the two. Layer 3, sandbox iptables injection. Even with the policy updated and relay running, the sandbox's own iptables output chain has a blanket reject rule. We need to inject an accept rule before it. Now the full path works: sandbox-relay-docker bridge-host vLLM. The hard part: making tool calls actually work. Getting inference responses from the sandbox was only half the battle. The real challenge was making the AI agent, OpenCode, execute tools, file read/write, shell commands, through local inference. The problem: Nemetron 9B outputs tool calls as raw text in its response. But AI coding agents like OpenCode expect OpenAI-compatible structured objects in the API response. There's a mismatch at 2 levels. 1. With parameter: when a client sends a parameter in the API request, vLLM can use a custom tool parser plugin to convert the text. I wrote a parser registered via that extracts blocks and returns structured tool call objects. This works for direct API calls, e.g. curl within the request body. 2. Without parameter, OpenCode doesn't send as an API parameter, it embeds tool definitions in the system prompt instead. This means vLLM's parser never activates, and the text comes back as plain. The solution: a gateway that rewrites SSE streams. A gateway server sits between the agent and vLLM. The gateway buffers the streaming SSE response, accumulates the field across chunks, and checks for patterns. When detected, it strips the text from, parses the JSON inside, injects structured into the final SSE response. This means tool execution works regardless of whether the client sends in the request. The gateway also manages on-demand vLLM startup/shutdown to free VRAM when idle. The result: with the network hacks and the gateway in place, the OpenCode agent inside the sandbox can read and write files via tool calls, execute shell commands, iterate on code with multi-turn tool use. All powered by local Nemetron 9B on the RTX 5090, with 0 cloud API calls. What you get once all 3 layers are in place: 0 cloud API calls. The sandbox still isolates code execution, the agent can't escape to the host file system, but inference stays local. The catch: everything is volatile. Component survives restart? Host iptables no. TCP relay no. Sandbox iptables no. Network policy yes. Sandbox files no. A startup script that reapplies all 3 layers is essential.